Here in this video we will assess how powerful orcs are against humans. We will take into account primarily melee combat, as ranged warfare is not really a test of mettle. We will start with Snotlings and end with Krorks and include every orc type in between. And yeah, this is from 40k. Well, we will include everything except for the squigs and the squiggoths, which are more animal than members of a sentient race. So let's get to it. So we begin with Snotlings. They are the smallest and weakest of all the orcoids, standing only around 50 centimeters or around 1.5 feet tall. They have tiny pea-sized brains and behave like overexcited, uncontrollable puppies, making them clumsy and foolish. Unlike bigger orcs who use guns, swords and cannons, Snotlings fight with sticks, mushrooms or anything small they can grab. In orc society they are at the very bottom and are mostly used as servants, pets, slaves, food or even ammunition. Under the watch of run herds, they help grow fungus and look after squigs, which orcs use for food, drinks and medicine. Snotlings multiply very fast and can cause serious trouble by clogging machines, pipes and vehicle entrances, sometimes even causing explosions. In battle, a Snotling is almost no danger at all. Against a human, one would be extremely weak, easily frightened and quickly defeated, although large groups can still be annoying and distracting. Then the bigger ones, the Gretchins, or also called the Krorks, are a little bit bigger and smaller than Snotlings, but they are still slaves to the orcs and live hard, miserable lives. They are smaller, weaker and far more cowardly than orcs, so they are often forced to do dangerous and dirty jobs like clearing minefields, fixing war machines and acting like living shields in battle. Runherds, who are cruel slave bosses, drive them into fights using shock prods and grabber sticks. And the Gretchins like to fight enemies weaker than themselves or prefer sneaky hit-and-run tactics. If they are lucky or rich, they may use simple guns, but most of them get their weapons from scavenged scraps. In large groups, they can often be dangerous by swarming enemies, especially during ship battles where they sabotage machines and overrun control areas. Some stronger Gretchins are even allowed to pilot small combat walkers called the killer cans, or they can crew artillery weapons. However, against a human soldier, a single Gretchin is quite weak and would struggle badly in a fair fight, most of the time relying more on numbers, fear and tricks rather than real strength. Now if you know something about orcs, you know that they grow stronger as they live. And now we come to the young boys. They live, fight and survive, and their strength is closely tied to constant warfare. A young orc boy is already bigger and stronger than a normal man, and in a straight fight, he often has more raw muscle power than an Imperial Guardsman. This means that a young orc can hit harder, shrug off wounds that would kill a man, and keep fighting even when badly injured. However, young orcs lack discipline, agility and tactical thinking. They rush forward loudly and recklessly, relying on strength rather than skill, rather than cover or planning. Because of this, while a single young orc boy can match or even overpower a guardsman in close combat, he is far less effective at using terrain, fighting skills or tactics in combat, and would often lose the fight against more experienced soldiers, but would more than not often win against baseline humans, untrained ones, that is. Now, as orcs survive battles, they grow larger, tougher and more confident, gaining the respect of others and slowly turning into Nobz and eventually war bosses. But average orc boys will never reach this stage, so they are strong but unrefined, acting on instinct rather than strategy. This is why well-trained and well-entrenched Imperial Guardsmen, even in smaller numbers, can sometimes defeat much larger orc mobs. Guardsmen use cover, heavy weapons, kill zones and tactical discipline to cut down charging orcs before they can reach close combat. However, in a one-on-one combat scenario, no holds bar, orc boys would wipe the floor clean against an average guardsman, but in many times they are often seen being outmaneuvered by better trained elite warriors of the Imperium like commissars, members of the special forces like the Karaskin and others. Against Space Marines, they only pose a threat in greater swarming numbers. But that's the thing about orcs, they never run out of boys, and in many cases it's only after a sheer battle of attrition and some out-of-the-box tactics would the Imperium or even a group of Space Marines win the battle. Now next, Orc Nobz are the bigger, tougher and more brutal leaders that rise above ordinary orc boys. Although they are still smaller than a war boss, they rule through sheer size, strength and loud, violent authority, bullying both their fellow orcs and weaker creatures like Gretchins and Snotlings. The name Nob is thought to be a mockery of the human word noble, twisted through orcish speech into something crude and fitting. Nobs often serve as the personal bodyguards of a war boss, and if the boss is killed, the biggest and the meanest Nob usually takes his place. Others lead mobs of boys, shouting orders and enforcing discipline with fists, boots, and weapons. Because status matters greatly to Orcs, Nobz claim the best armor and the biggest, deadliest weapons, often wearing heavy plates or even mega armors. Some Nobz carry war banners that inspire nearby Orcs and can even be used as brutal weapons in combat. I mean, the banners. In battle, a Nob is extremely dangerous. His raw strength, toughness, and heavy war gear allows him to go toe-to-toe with an average Space Marine, especially in close combat. While Nobs lack the discipline, training, and tactical skill of a Space Marine, their sheer brutality, resilience, and love of violence makes them just as deadly in a straight fight. Then above them are the Mega Nobs, which are the toughest and most fearsome Orc Nobs, known for their love of close combat and their belief that nothing can truly hurt them. They wear massive suits of mega armor, made from extremely thick metal plates welded together into powerful piston-driven exoskeletons filled with engines and motors that greatly increase their strength. Each Mega Nob is heavily armed with brutal weapons like power claws, kilt saws, combi weapons, and custom shooters. And together they advance across the battlefield as loud clanking killing machines, each weighing over a ton. In battle, a Mega Nob is as dangerous as an experienced Space Marine, especially in close combat where its immense strength, heavy armor, and savage weapons give it a huge advantage. While they do lack the discipline and tactics of a veteran Space Marine, Mega Nobs can overpower newly inducted Space Marines through sheer toughness and brute force. Now, a war boss is the most powerful and important Orc in any clan, because he is always the biggest, strongest, and the toughest of them all. He usually stands over 3 meters or around 10 feet tall, and wears the best armor and carries the biggest, deadliest weapons the Orcs can find or build. A war boss stays in charge by beating any challenger who dares to oppose him, and because Orcs naturally follow the strongest leader, a war boss can command huge mobs of boys, and if he becomes powerful enough, he can lead a massive interstellar invasion called a war. Even though war bosses may not seem smart, they have a brutal cunning around them that helps them plan attacks, choose targets, and keep their armies fighting. The measure of a war boss's power and skill in battle is tricky and varies in accordance to the plot of the story and whatever amuses the author. Against ordinary humans, a war boss is almost unstoppable, able to kill even famous heroes, but sometimes even these massive beasts fail or fall against exemplary ones of the Imperium. For example, in the Second War of Armageddon, or for Armageddon, war boss Ugelhot, who is one of the ones under war boss Ghazghkull Mak'Thraka, he fought against Commissar Yarrick and tore one of his arms apart, nearly killing him, but he was still decapitated by Yarrick's will and skill in battle. In another example against Space Marines, war bosses can be deadly equals and even superior in raw combat, like when Krorks slaughtered 10 Astartes one by one at the slaughter of Black Gulch, and how war boss Nakrod fought against Chapter Master Pedro Cantor to a near stalemate. While in another instance, the duel between Ghazghkull and Ragnar Blackmane shows the middle ground. Ghazghkull physically overpowered the Space Marine hero and crushed him, but damage to his armor allowed Ragnar to decapitate him in a final desperate strike. However, against Primarchs, war bosses are clearly outmatched. Ulrak Ork, despite ruling a massive empire and being guarded by elite Nobs, was easily defeated by Horus Lupercal. So overall, war bosses dominate humans and can rival or overwhelm Space Marines, especially in close combat, but they are usually no match for Primarchs or even Custodes who operate on a higher level of power and skill. But then, as the humans have the Primarchs, the Orcs have the Prime Orcs, which are believed by the Imperium to be the final and most dangerous evolution of the Orcoid race, formed when an Orc War grows so large and powerful enough to force a sudden jump in strength and evolution, in intelligence as well. War bosses of these War evolve into beings that are far bigger and smaller than normal Orcs, standing around 10 meters or around 33 feet tall, and roughly the size of a 3-story hab block, and they are encased in extremely advanced power armor that greatly boosts their strength and toughness. They are thought to be the Orc equivalent of Primarchs. There are 6 of them, or the lesser Prime Orcs, that appeared during the War of the Beasts in the 32nd millennium, and even these smaller Prime Orcs were thought to be a match or even surpass the Adeptus Custodes in combat, at least one-on-one. The greatest of these Prime Orcs was known as the Beast, a massive and terrifying warlord who led the Orcs during the War of the Beasts. His battle armor was loaded with overwhelming firepower, including battle cannons, autocannons, and missile launchers, flamers, and other weapons built directly into its arms. while the other arm carried a huge vibro mace taller than a space marine. In pure physical strength, the beast was shown to be stronger than even Vulcan, the primarch of the salamanders, overpowering him through raw brute force alone. This made the beast not only far stronger than the Custodes, but also a serious threat even to primarchs themselves. In the end, he was defeated by only a powerful psychic backlash caused by a ritual called the Reverse Wa, using Orc psychers together with the Sisters of Silence, showing that ordinary weapons were not enough to stop him. But wait, there's more! Now we end with the Krorks, which were the original and most powerful forms of Orcs, created by the old ones around 60 to 70 million years ago to fight the Necrons and the godlike Catan alongside their psychic Eldari. They were far bigger, smarter and stronger than modern Orcs, with each Krork being as powerful as a Primarch and possibly even rivaling the Emperor of Mankind before the Horus Heresy. A Necron known as Trazyn the Infinite has one of them preserved in his museum, and it is said to be over a dozen meters tall, which means 40 feet, and wearing extremely advanced power armor, far superior to anything used by Orcs war bosses today. These Krorks were so strong and well armed that they would easily surpass the Adeptus Custodes and could easily overwhelm Primarchs through sheer power and size. Because of this, a Krork could have been a serious threat even to the Emperor himself. An army of them were powerful enough to challenge the Necron Empire at its peak, making them one of the deadliest forces ever created. However, they only reached this peak or terrifying level during the massive wars against the Necrons, which means the war in heaven, and thus would slowly regress into weaker forms when relative peace returned, meaning their danger depended entirely on how large and intense the conflict became. And so with that, we end this video on how strong are Orc types versus human types in 40k, which means how strong an Orc boy or a Krork or a war boss is against a space marine, a normal human, or even a Primarch. Anyway, with that, we end this video. Now do hit the like button for support, and also for the ones holding their phones in their hands, well, you know the drill. Click on that hype button to push this content further. Also subscribe to be a part of Legion Nutbug for the ones who haven't yet. And so till the next time, take care, boys.